As you can see, Andy Lee is here. Good morning to you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good morning.
So a couple of things. You were in New York.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah,
Nice trip.
yeah, it was nice. Yeah, about 5 or 6 days. It coincided with Michael Conlon's fight, and of course he's trained by Adam now, Adam Booth. I told him I was going to be there, hoping to get a couple of tickets, and he said, "Come on, be in the corner. We'd love to have you." And I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've been in the corner for a few fights, and you were like, "Oh, I'll do a bit of this and see what it's like." Actually, maybe I'll do a bit more of this.
Yeah, like even when I was boxing, Emmanuel would have me in the corner a lot of the big fights and get a little taste of it from that side of it, that perspective. But
why was he doing it, do you think?
Emmanuel would have done it just to prepare me for that big fight. I
Yeah.
guess the big atmosphere. You can't it's as close as you can get to being in the ring,
Yeah.
and what goes on in the corner and. But I've done it since, and yeah, it's nice, and Michael with Adam there and the rest of the team that he had, I was really a bit useless, but I said my approach, what can I do, what can I bring to the table, just be a positive influence and just keep reinforcing. And when he was coming back to the corner, because the fight, he kind of got frustrated in the fight. He went the distance with a very negative opponent who just wanted to survive. I think he looked at Michael in the first round, and the tapes, I'd watched the guy before the fight. The guy was aggressive, he stood and fought, and he looked like a perfect opponent for Michael to look good against. But I guess when the guy saw what Michael brought, he just completely went on the defensive and didn't want to engage. And those are always the toughest opponents to look good against, and can become frustrating. So I just thought, look, when he comes to the corner, I'll just keep giving him positivity and letting him know not to take the pressure off him.
And do you tic-tac with Adam in advance about what everybody's going to say?
Yeah, well, no, just not so much what you're going to say, because that's Adam's job, and just basically, what am I doing? He said, you're taking out the mouthpiece and holding the bucket. Right. So, and then Adam was always the first in the ring, so he's got priority. And then there was a cut man, Danny Milano, and another guy called H, and I said, who was putting the stool, I said, which side of the ring do you want to go? And we just coordinate that,
Yeah.
and I'd jump in, and that's it then,
Yeah.
But it's fun.
We could just see up on screen there a moment ago Conlon's name on the back of a New York Knicks jersey.
Yeah.
I get the sense that he really enjoys the relationship he has with the United States so far.
They love him in New York, and especially in the Garden. I think from that debut he had, I think they were blown away. And he's a real star there, The CEO of Madison Square Garden, he made sure Michael had the Rangers change room. It's a 7-pro fight, and he's in the biggest change room in the house. I think Lomachenko was in the away dressing room.
Right, yeah.
So that's how much they like him. And after the fight, they brought him out a big cake and said congratulations, they really give him the star treatment there.
He needs a few of these fights, though, doesn't he? He's unbelievably experienced in the amateur game and has fought loads of fights and has come across loads of different types of opponent. But actually, you can't cheat.
It's a different
10,
game.
15 fights in
No, it's a different game. And the fact, he was frustrated. He wanted to look good. It was a big card, and he's trying to push on. But that fight that he had, the 8 rounds with an experienced and awkward opponent, will stand him in good stead. I think those kind of fights, the learning fights, that's invaluable. You can't get that experience of doing 8 rounds in a fight, in the actual fight environment. And as well, you have to take into consideration that he's still transitioning. He's still learning from the amateur game after being an amateur for so long and so ingrained in that. And also he's transitioning from one coach to another. He's with Manny Rubles and now he's with Adam Booth. So it's a lot, and I think there is an awful lot of pressure on him. As I said, he's getting that style treatment. With that comes a lot of pressure, and I know he's handled that all throughout his career, but it's a different level now as a pro.
Tell me about Adam, and does he have a style of coaching where he wants all his fighters to fight in a specific style, or does he look at each individual and go, these are the things you're good at? Or how would you describe him?
He certainly has a style, and it's based on reflexes, power punching, but pressure with the feet, and always being in position, and never, pressing your opponent with the feet, allowing your opponent to punch, and then making him pay. And it's a very effective style of fighting. He does work with the style you have, and he looks at what you have that's good. But then I think over a period of time he'll try to transition you into his style of fighting. Yeah.
Okay. How far along is Conlon now?
He's still got some way to go, I think. But it's very early in his career. It's an unfortunate thing, similar to with Katie Taylor and all these amateur stars. They kind of rushed a little bit as professionals, don't get time, don't have the luxury of learning their trade like a way an average fighter would, because they're such big names. They sign up with big fanfare, you know, when they turn professional, that they don't get that chance just to get 8 or 9 fights where they can just walk in and just go through the ritual of the fight and learn the trade. But he'll have to learn. He will adapt. He's phenomenal talent. He's probably, to me, he's in the top 5 prospects in the world, Michael. He has that much talent, and he has that kind of winning mindset. I think that's what separates him a lot from other fighters who are probably not as good, but not far off him in terms of technique and ability, but just his mindset. He's just a winner.
Describe that for me. What do you mean?
He just doesn't believe he'll ever lose. You know, he's just. I think that's what separated him in the amateurs as well. You know, you could see in all of his interviews, he didn't feel any embarrassment. As Irish people, you say, I'm not. You know, when you say I'm the greatest, I'm the best, I'm going to win this, you kind of feel a little bit awkward. I would always be a little bit awkward about that, speaking. So, you know, even though I was probably thinking it in my mind, but he was always, you know, forthright in saying that, and you could tell it was 100% conviction in that. So I think he's just a winner. You know, he's just a winner, and that will stand him in good stead. He's going to learn his trade. He will face adversity as he goes on, as the opponents get better. But I think as the opponents get better, he'll show up better as well.
Yeah, because like when you look at that, obviously one of the most infamous moments now in amateur boxing history, the disaster at Rio and the absolute scandal that was, like, it was injustice that we saw there, and it was his reaction to injustice. But I guess from what you're saying there, it was also Michael Conlon's reaction to simply losing. Yeah,
and it's funny now that Vladimir Nikitin, he's signed with Top Rank.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he's signed with Top Rank, and they're obviously going to build that fight. And I asked Michael's dad in the dressing room, I said, how did Michael feel about that? Because I know myself, I would, if my promoter signed like a guy who's done, I'd feel a little bit put out, you know. I'd feel like that'd be like a little dig to me. And this is his mentality. He said, John Conlon said, Michael's all for it. He said he wants this fight badly, and he said he knows his business, and he knows that this is a huge fight and a chance for him to get revenge. And I thought, you know, that's the perfect attitude to have.
And it's probably not that dangerous for him because he's already killed him once.
Well, look, as in pro fight, it's a different prospect. Trust me. And Nick Denton does have a pro style. I don't think Michael will outbox him all day, but if he has to stand and trade, it'll be a tough fight. You know, he's a tough competitor, that Nikitin, and he's not Russian. You don't get Russian champion and Russian representative. I know he pulled out the next fight due to the cuts after beating Michael, losing to Michael, beat Michael. But look, they'll build him and they'll build a big fight. There's also Shakur Stevenson, who's also another prospect who was in that weight division, who won a silver medal in Rio. Yeah, he's also a potential fight for Michael down the line.
Yeah. So, how far is that away, do you think? Like,
he's headlining a fight now in Belfast, Michael Conlon. I think it's June 10th, and that'll be a huge. You know, that's his homecoming. It'll be a huge fight, headlining in his first show so early in his career. And after that, I think they should kind of take him on the road a little bit. You know, I think there's no rush with him. I know he's 26 now. He's not very young as a pro, but
also not very old anymore.
Not very old anymore.
Go to 33,
and
34.
The level of conditioning, fitness, and sports science that's involved now, that he will have a long career. So I think if I was in charge of his career, I'd take him on the road. I wouldn't give him the big billing all the time. Once in a while, not to let him get too detached from it, but let him have some fights. You know, Top Rank have fights all over America in off-the-wall places where you never hear about it. Let him learn his trade. And in a year or two's time, he will be a top fight contender and ready to challenge for a title.
Yeah. What was the rest of the night like?
Good, great. Well, the main event was an excellent fight. Lomachenko against Linares, 2 of the pound fighters in the world, and still are even after the fight. They fought a hard fight, and I think it was the 10th or 11th round. Lomachenko stopped him with a body shot, and excellent fight. Like a fight of the highest caliber in terms of skill and courage and display what they showed. Yeah.
And was it a sellout? Was it full?
It was, but like I was surprised. I thought it was going to be in the small garden, but they had it in the big garden. Right. And it was packed and great atmosphere, and the guys put on a great show. You know, we were in to talk about the dark arts, and you know, Lomachenko was accused of stepping on his toe, of Linares' toe, but I don't know if it was deliberate. It's always likely to happen when you have a southpaw in Lomachenko fighting an orthodox because the lead feet are almost touching each other at all times.
Yeah.
And if you are smart, and I'm sure, like, there's no smarter boxer than Lomachenko, no better educated fighter than Lomachenko, you can use it to your advantage by stepping on the opponent's toe. Like Juan Manuel Marquez was known for it as well. Before he'd start a combination, he'd step on your toe, always against southpaws, and coincidentally he fought Pacquiao, 3 times. So that would have been a good tactic for him to use. But there are all types of things
You're
that go on
standing
in
on the toe
fights.
to trap them and get them off balance. It's not that you're going to hurt their toe.
When someone attacks you, your immediate reaction is to step back.
Yeah.
The first thing you'll do is try to step back and then drop your head.
Yeah.
And if you can't step back, then you're just a sitting target.
Yeah.
And especially if something's kind of stopped your flow, it will jerk you a little bit and get you out of your rhythm. So, there's a number of things that go on in fights, and there are so many little tricks that.
Presumably the low blows is the most frustrating and annoying, because like everybody can see it, and very frequently they don't really get called, or if they do, it's like, don't do that again.
Yeah, I know.
He just hit me in the nuts.
I know.
Like, don't do it again.
There's degrees, of severity, but it depends where it is and what has to be taken into consideration. How high is the waistband? With some fighters, and I used to myself have it up well over my belly button. Pull them right up. I would look like a complete geek in the ring, but I didn't care. I wasn't getting hit a blow. I wasn't getting hit any body shots. But there's and there's smart ways to do that. Like Roberto Duran was notorious for, I don't want to say hitting you low, but questionable body work on the blind side of the referee, and it's all part of ring generalship. And as I said about Michael Conlon learning his trade and his craft, those are the little tricks that you have to pick up, and that you will pick up in those fights where,
especially against lesser opponents who are actually doing everything they can to try and extend the fight or cheat.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
When I fought Brian Rivera the first time, there was no way he should have beat me, but he did. And he was a tough guy, and he was very liberal with his head, and I hadn't seen that before. He cut me above my eye, and he actually cut me. My bottom canine tooth punctured through my lip, so there's actually a hole here. And he was very liberal with his head and other things. But in the rematch, I actually accidentally clashed heads with him, and he got cut.
Right.
Was it an accident?
Accident. But I took great pleasure in that. Seeing
How
him
early
cut.
in the fight?
Oh, it would have been around round 3 or 4.
Okay.
And for the rest of the fight, 10 rounds, I just jabbed him in the eye repeatedly. And every time the blood squirted, I was like, that's.
Good job.
Yeah, it's great. Payback. But there's throughout boxing,
So go back to the first fight, right? So how pissed off are you getting with the liberal use of the head from him? And at what point do you realise, I need to do something about this? Or is it only afterwards you go, hang on a second, he was headbutting me the whole way through?
Yeah. The thing I learned after that, and the thing, what I've been told, what I've learned, if you're in a fight, and no matter what the referee's doing, or if you're in a spar and a guy's hitting you low, you immediately hit him low back. If a guy's using his head, you immediately do it back. It's the only way to stop someone doing that type of thing. To let them know, give them a taste of their own medicine. And that's what you have to do. And notice it in fights, and with experienced fighters, if they get hit a low blow and they're stopped and they're in the corner and the referee's giving them 10 to 20 seconds to recover, as soon as they come out for the next exchange, they'll go straight to the body, but they'll go low,
Yeah.
And that's what you're told to do. To me, it's a good tactic.
And referees seem kind of it's the law of the jungle at that point. You've taken one, you're allowed to give one. It's almost like you get a free pass. Or
there was another fight the weekend, and it was again southpaw against orthodox fighters. There wasn't as much toe stepping, but there was a lot of low blows. It was Badu Jack fought Adonis Stevenson for the light heavyweight championship, and both guys were warned for low blows. It's a southpaw orthodox thing, because when you're standing facing a man and he's the complete opposite of you, your backhand will be the perfect shot to the body. And if they stray low,
what a disaster.
I know, yeah. It's sometimes you get away with one, sometimes you will get caught for it, but I think it's not as strict as professional boxing is not as strict, and it is a tactic. Same as tying up an opponent. That's why when you see amateurs turn professional early in their careers, they will get a lot of cuts. And when you're seeing it now, since the amateurs have taken off their headgears, they don't know how to protect themselves in the clinches. Don't know how to use their heads safely, and that's why they're getting a lot of cuts.
Speaking of using the head a lot, obviously the most famous response to somebody headbutting them was Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield's ear. Have a look at what Tyson said afterwards.
I don't remember what I said. I told him that he butted me, but I know I complained about being butted. And we complained about the first fight. Listen, Holyfield's not the tough warrior everyone says he is. He got little nicks on him there, and he quit. I got an eye. I got one eye. I got one eye. He's not impaired. He got ears. I got one eye. Big deal. If he take one, I got another one. I'm ready to fight. He didn't want to fight. I'm ready to fight him right now.
Mills Lane stopped the fight. It wasn't Holyfield who stopped it.
Oh, he didn't want to fight. He didn't want to fight.
Let me ask.
We don't know what Mills did. Don't put nothing on Mills.
Well, Mills said he stopped the fight. You bit him. Was that a retaliation for the eye when you bit him in his ear?
Regardless of what I did, he butted me for 2 fights.
But you got to address it, Mike.
I did address it. I addressed it in the ring.
Why did you do that, though, Mike? I mean, was that the proper response?
Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. I got to go home and my kids are going to be scared of me. Look at me, man.
I did address it. I addressed it in the ring.
Yeah. That was a protest, you know. Tyson, as you know from Brownsville, he's one of the toughest guys. He was the baddest man on the planet. And when it boils down to it, when you're in a fight, you revert to what you know. And Mike Tyson knows how to street fight, you know. Yeah. And he said, okay, Holyfield, you want to butt me? You want to take it to the streets? Let's take it to the streets. And in front of probably the biggest audience in history up to that point, he did the most craziest thing, you know, bit his ear off, yeah.
First time he bites him, like everyone's like, that didn't really happen, did it? Just to make sure, it's like, here we go again.
Insane, but you know, that was a protest. You know, he maybe it's like, you know, a little bit of the bully getting his own medicine. He didn't like it, so he kind of spit his gum shield out, in a sense, literally and figuratively.
Angelo Dundee apparently was a good man for buying his fighters extra time as well.
Yeah, this is another case but besides Tyson, up to that point, the most famous incident of the dark arts in boxing was Angelo Dundee. The first fight with then Cassius Clay, later on Muhammad Ali, fought Henry Cooper in Wembley Arena. It was in 1963. The fight was going all Ali's way, winning it at a canter. They were shouting at him, come on, get this guy out of there. But he had predicted round 5. He had predicted a 5th round knockout, so he wanted to stretch it out to prove that he was a prophet. And he got dropped heavily at the end of the 3rd round. Heavily in the end of the 3rd round. And Dundee, maybe not the greatest trainer, but probably one of the best, if not the greatest, cornerman. You know, strategy-wise and guiding a fighter through a fight. He just saw a little turn. It wasn't even a tear. He just saw the seam, and he stuck his finger in it, pulled it apart. He admitted it himself. Pulled it apart and bought his fighter an extra couple of minutes. And he came out, steadied himself in the 4th round, and Cooper stopped on cuts in the 5th. And so he did make good on his prediction.
Yeah, because as we were talking earlier on, just about kind of going for the cut and stuff like that, that's just a classic example, isn't it? That Cooper fight where it's like, I've spotted a little bit of a weakness there over your eye, I'm going to keep hammering that home, and it's essentially what won that fight for Ali.
Yeah, well, Cooper was notorious for cutting very sharp bones, similar to Ricky Hatton. You know, if you're kind of born or cursed with that, you know, sharp bones, it's a real hindrance of fighters.
I talked about this before, but I remember Bernard Dunn's last fight in the States. I was at that, and he was co-headlining, and it was in Minneapolis. Matt Vanda was the other co-headliner. He'd actually been beaten in the second to last fight, and Bernard was up last. So the local fans all streamed out, and it was kind of quite empty at that point. But it was on ESPN. And inside the first 10 seconds of the ring, his opponent, who was a good bit taller than him, just walked out and headbutted him straight in the forehead. I will never forget the blood spurting out in a straight line, and Bernard catching it on his glove and looking at it and going, fuck. And your man just ploughed in, and because he was cut so badly, your man just kept punching him in the forehead for the whole 10 rounds, whatever it was.
You got to think of it on a physiological level, that you're losing blood, you're losing oxygen. You know, it has an effect. You know, people say, oh, it's cut, it's only a nick, but there's blood coming out, and that's having an effect on your body. You know, you're losing blood pressure as well, so there's a biological effect.
And if you're going to do it the first 10 seconds, you always get away with it.
Get them in,
it's like a good old Kerry on Cork punching the lads in the throw-in. So that always worked for them.